Hello everyone, GeneralApple here, and welcome back to another house in Fata Morgana video. And on our last playthrough, we finally reached the dreadful point of the brothel raid, which we knew was coming for a long time now, because we've played the first game, and at least after that, we ended up on somewhat of a positive note, because now we saw Jacopo and Gretchen speaking with each other, and planning the second uprising, or the rebellion, which we already know is gonna overthrow the current lord and switch it with Jacopo. So yeah, let's just continue right from where we left. It's even called Revolution. Alright. What had once been nothing more than a pipe dream was, against all odds, soon to be a reality. Everyone wanted the Lord removed from power. They were angry and frustrated, and on several occasions had even seriously considered resorting to another revolt to make it happen. But no one had been able to turn those emotions into actions, because they all knew a revolt was destined to be quashed before it made any difference. That there was no hope to be found down that path. But an actual revolution, that was another story, especially with someone poised to take the Lord's place on their side. They had a fighting chance, and they had no reason not to take it. As the fire in their eyes swelled to a blaze, mine seemed to sputter out, leaving behind a withered husk. I felt as though I was sitting in a theater, watching on as the story unfolded before me. No, that didn't quite capture how I felt. I wasn't even watching it with my own eyes, merely listening quietly as someone recounted for me their heroic deeds. The fact that I was an indispensable part of this operation still hadn't fully sunk in. All I knew was that I wasn't completely powerless anymore. But while fiery passion and hope for the future filled Gretchen and the rest of the gang, a dark, poisonous revulsion for God and fate streamed in to fill the hole left in me by the attack on the brothel. Preparation proceeded smoothly, with Jin providing inside information and guidance. As I had expected, there were a not significant number of nobles dissatisfied with the way Barnier ruled, and they were constantly looking for a way to eradicate a cloud of pestilence hanging over the land. However, the Lord had eyes everywhere in the upper circle, and he was especially mindful of who associated with whom, and how often. Any signs of opposition were swiftly dealt with before they had a chance to pose any threat. So the novelty needed an outsider, someone the Lord wasn't on the lookout for, to step in and assert power. Jean arranged for several guards and attendants within the Lord's manor to betray him on the day of the revolution. Wow, she actually managed to do that? They would open the doors for us from the inside and we would storm the manor. Structurally, the plan was similar to the slave revolt, the two major differences being my role, and the Lord's death being our primary goal. As the day drew nearer, it was all anyone in the slums seemed to be talking about. Though we did our best to encourage everyone to stay quiet, so as to not alert their lord, it was impossible to keep the excitement contained. And it wasn't long before word reached Maria's ears. She approached me, pale as a ghost, and attempted to talk me out of it. Haven't you had enough danger for one life? Come on, forget about all this revolution stuff. We can build up a new brothel and just stay low for the rest of our days. Does that really sound so bad? You're the one friend I've got left, Jacopo. She was practically begging, which she almost never did. While I sympathized with her, Maria's desperation did nothing to try my resolve. And before long, the day was finally upon us. Oh, hear me, my fellow citizen, who live in suffering at the hands of your supposed lord. Within me flows the blood of the previous lord. I am the rightful heir. Behold, the Barnier's golden ring, proof that I am a noble of noble birth. Victims of this terrible tyrant, the time has come to start anew, and I shall be the one to lead you down that path. The poor, the hungry, the deprived, all of you, stand with me. Oh wow, they're all marching towards the castle. Before we commenced our strike on the Lord's Manor, I gave a little speech in the city square. Not because we actually needed them to take up arms and fight with us, but because we needed to make public proclamation of our position before overthrowing the Lord. They needed to know we were not merely opponents of the Lord, but opponents of the common man. That we had a legitimate cause and a legitimate claim to power. If we were to leave them in the dark, it would only sow confusion and unrest when the word of the Lord came out. They had to see us as their liberators, not a greater evil swooping in to squash a lesser one. The Lord had been squeezing everything he could out of them for years, sucking them dry, so I didn't expect anyone to actually have the willpower to join us. The important thing was that they knew who I was, but I had underestimated them. A slow trickle of people stood to join us, and by the time we were at the city edge, we had accumulated a dozen of additional men, transforming a little uprising into something of much greater scale. The people had been waiting day in and day out for someone to take up their banner and lead the way. It didn't matter that the one holding the banner did so under false pretenses. The Lord was truly such a horrible man that everyone just rushed for his death. Intruders, we're under attack. Yeah, get him. Ah. Oh god. With the added support, our forces rendered the manor defenses practically useless. Townsfolk flooded the property, overwhelming even fully armored soldiers. Farmers turned the tools of the trade into deadly weapons, plunging all manner of spiked implements into guards' necks. It didn't take long for the pungent stench of blood to fill the air. Panicked servants scrambled away from the chaos as quickly as they could manage. And I made my way through the corridors to the Great Hall, where the Lord presumably waited, Gretchen at my side. We're here to relieve you of your head, Lord. Have these savages removed from my property, immediately. Yes, my lord. I guess I shouldn't be surprised defenses are heaviest here. Watch yourself, Gretchen. You can shove that concern right back where it came from, kid. I ain't about to let that bunch of mooks do me in. No number of these pansy little fuckers is enough to take me down. Is there any situation capable of tempering that big mouth of yours? You can handle all the guards then. I'll take care of the Lord. You wanna take the prize all for yourself, kid? Normally I'd tell you to piss off, but I'll give you this one. It's what the people want besides. Thank you for understanding. But remember, if you screw this pooch, I'll make sure you're laughingstock of the whole city. Don't worry, I will come back with his head. The fact that Barnier was still here suggested he knew he had nowhere safer to flee to. Unlike the slave revolt 3 years prior, we were entirely on the offensive this time. He didn't appear particularly perturbed about his predicament, though. He likely had a little doubt he would make it through the day safely. I knew Barnier was skilled with a sword, and despite all Gretchen talk, the guards he kept by his side were hardly going to be third-rate. They would be the best of the best. Praying Gretchen would be able to hold them off long enough, I weaved my way through the wall of armed men, marching straight for Lord Barnier. He slowly drew his sword, readying himself for combat. Wow, imagine that. It's you again. I had assumed you had died off in a hole somewhere. Hate to disappoint you, but staying alive, one of my few talents. Ha, how fitting for a filthy maggot. Well, I hope you're ready to be devoured by that very maggot. Oh! Oh god, what an image. Holy! Look at Jacopo, swings like a champion. It would seem your tongue has gotten rather sharp since we last met, though. I needn't remind you how this played out 3 years ago, do I? Do I? Your blade will never get anywhere near my head. I will, however, give you a good reminder of precisely how feeble and worthless you slum rats are. Within me flows the blood of the royal family, direct descendants of God himself, while your blood is made from the refuse of the earth. We are no more the same species as a worm is a wolf. Your very being in my presence is a slight of the highest order. Jesus, man, that's brutal. I think you'll find our blood is much more similar than you think. When I take that ugly head of your shoulders, we can both get a good look at how equally filthy your blood is to mine. I am not the boy I was 3 years ago. I'll drag you down from your throne on high and show you for the dredges of the earth you really are. Wow, that's sick. That is, I'm not gonna lie, that is some sick banter. If you can call it that, just back and forth. You would dare insult me, cur? We traded strikes, going on offense and defense in roughly equal parts. Barnier was quick on his feet and quicker with his blade. When I attacked, he swayed effortlessly out of his path, like a stalk of wheat in the wind. And when he attacked, he was like a typhoon. He had a prowess that could never be overcome with brute strength. However, I had not spent the last 3 years idle. While I could hardly imitate the refined swordsmanship of a trained nobleman, I had much better grasp on how and when to most effectively put my weight into a swing, how to maintain the ideal amount of distance between us. And there was one other key difference. I had no intention of running. Either I would take off his head, or I would end up a bloody heap on the floor. There was no other way this battle could end. Think about what you're doing, Slumrat. About who you're pointing that blade at. An attack on me is an attack on God. It is an act of unspeakable sacrilege. Ha! Little late to take the moral high ground. You're that afraid of dying? Then put your tail between your legs and start running. You insolent. I am the rightful heir of the Barnier family. The blood of kings of old flows in my veins, and I run the ultimate ruler of this land and my people. And I am. I would never condescend to turn my back to worthless rat. Well, don't say I didn't give you the choice. That just means we'll keep on doing this until one of us is dead. Every swing, every step, every slight shift of balance had a little more weight than the last. But unlike last time, where the pressure had only served to light a fire under me, it was now building up inside me, growing, taking form. I could now perfectly trace the path of his blade dancing through the air. Back then, the only advantage I had over Barnier was physical strength and pluck. But things were very different now. He was agile, but I could keep up with him. No, I was beginning to overtake him. Allow me to borrow your words if you would. Perhaps you should have saved the snake yapping for when you have the skill to back it up. Oh, don't get cocky with significant rat. You traitorous cur. The Lord swung down at me with all his strength, but I managed to parry the strike with little trouble. In that moment, I had undeniable power. Power. That's right. I wasn't powerless, and I could never let myself be powerless again. Ever. And if I couldn't manage that, then I deserved to rot here as the weak, worthless man I was. I had the chance, here and now, to take out not only the Lord, but the me of old as well. The helpless, impotent boy who couldn't even protect the ones he loved. That's exactly what I'll do. I'll show you that I'm not who I used to be. That I'm not that sniveling little boy from 3 years ago. Before long, Barnier was coming up against the far wall. You impudent worm. We were both breathing hard, dripping with sweat. The air seemed to waver like there was a fire burning between us. A fire fueled by our own souls. And that heat extended to the entire hall, in a staunch defiance of the cold winter sitting beyond the walls. Perhaps the room had transformed into one of the halls of hell itself. Where's your god now, huh? It's time to end this. Your time on this earth has come to an end, Barnier. I readjusted my grip on my sword, repositioned my feet on the hard floor, lining everything up for my final strike, and then threw a little extra fuel on the fire, before breaking into a dash. However... Wait! What? The last person... Oh man, I knew it, for the love of God. The last person I expected to see stood there between me and the Lord, bringing me to an emergency stop just moments before I could have taken off his head. Jern? But because I had been running at full speed, I staggered, almost tripping before catching my balance. She reached out, placing her hands on my shoulder, pleading at me with eyes of the color of early spring leaves. I could see myself aghast, reflected in those eyes. I shouldn't have stopped. I shouldn't have hesitated, for any reason. I should have knocked Jern to the side and taken off Barnier's head. But a torrent of question rained down upon me, entangling me from head to toe like a spider's web. Why? How? What was Jern doing here? Why did she ask me to stop? Why was she standing between me and Barnier? No. The answer hit me like a bolt of lightning. Only 4 people had survived a raid on the brothel, but we had prepared a safe room underground in case of emergency, and the stairs down were hidden beneath the floorboards. Yet Maria said they were found quickly and most of the girls taken captive. You didn't. The attack had been well organized and large scale. Could the aroma of herbs, which was strong enough to be smelled outside, have some kind of signal? How could you betray us? What came out of my mouth was not words, though, but a pained, visceral wail. Ah! But overpowering everything else I felt was paralyzing shock. Oh my days. The Lord killed her. The blade sticking out of Jern's chest pierced my breast. Our blood flowed down the opposite ends of a silver edge, melting into a single stream. I had completely lost any sense of what was happening. I left with only crushing bewilderment. Ha! Barnier let out a deep, bellowing laugh from behind Jern. The sound resonated through the blade in his hand. I could literally feel him mocking me from inside my body. Why? How could you do that, Jern? No. How could you, Barnier? Jern had double-crossed us. As much as I didn't want to believe it, I no longer had much of a choice. She had claimed she thought of us as like family, when in reality, she was colluding with the Lord. She was the one who had brought ruin upon the brothel. I couldn't reconcile what I saw with what I thought I knew. I couldn't forgive that kind of betrayal, and I couldn't even begin to comprehend Barnier's actions. How can you hide behind her when she stood up for you? How can you so readily cast her aside? She saved your life. How could you do this to her? What are you laughing at? Look at the girl. Look at her face. What? What? Why was Jern... How could she possibly smile about any of this? Well, that is creepy. What was going through her mind? Had she gone mad? I never seen her like... Wait. Yes, I had. I knew that smile. All too well. When the realization struck, an almost painful chill crawled up my spine. Jern was always smiling. She could break the ice with anyone in no time. She brought laughter wherever she went. She was endlessly cheerful, yet sincere to a fault. Flashes of our time together rushed through my mind. She was... Presumably, you're thinking the girl gone mad, but that isn't quite right. No. She's been mad all along. What? Could anyone in their right mind keep smiling after seeing their parents murdered and being sold off? Could anyone in their right mind genuinely believe they don't have a sorrow in the world? Could anyone in their right mind be smiling with a sword sticking out of their chest? I can't. The girl's immalleable mirth is but a different shade of madness. If she weren't mad, she wouldn't be smiling. Jern lacks the capacity to comprehend negative emotions. That can't be. She's compassionate, empathic. There's no way she doesn't understand these emotions. It's called good old-fashioned hard work. She pretends to show compassion, despite the fact that others' pain is incomprehensible to her. No, I refuse. You can't tell me there haven't been moments where you've seen the seams interact. In one of our conversations, I had asked Jern, have you ever felt like you got the short end of the stick? To which he had responded, I don't even know what the stick looked like, never mind which end is the short one. Well, I had assumed she'd either moved on or her threshold for happiness was on the low side. The scale she weighed on was outright broken. To tell you the truth, I'm rather fond of the girl. After all, I am a madman myself. I wanted to shut out his word, to act like it was all crazy blather, like I didn't see the truth, any truth in it. But all the proof I needed was staring right at me. Jern was smiling, as bright, as genuine as ever. The same smile she always showed us. As the blood streamed down the blade in my chest. And I couldn't believe it. Still, I couldn't accept that she had chosen this man over us. You said you thought of us like family, Jern. What happened to that? What happened to all of our time together? You would throw it all away for him? Jackie, remember what I said? Excuse me? That I had my eye on someone? And I love you, Jackie, and everyone else at the brothel. But there's someone I love even more. You know, I'm not the cleverest girl. I can only see what's right in front of me. How impossibly idiotic could I be? She never had an eye for me. Her heart had always belonged to Barnier. I was being presumptuous when I assumed she was talking about me at the festival. Why him, though? Why this man of all people? I fell to my knees, but I managed to hold my balance long enough to stagger back. When the tip of Barnier's blade slipped from my chest, the blood had been all holding seemed to rush out all at once, and with it went everything I was feeling. Some revolution this turned out to be, rat. As a parting gift, I'll let you in on a little something. The girl was my pawn from the very beginning, an informant, sent to keep me appraised of anything that might spark opposition. I knew it. I actually said it. I said it from the very beginning. I'm always right. Except when I'm wrong, I'm always right. Damn, I knew it. It was really obvious, though. If someone amassing wealth illegitimately, I have them killed or forced to surrender all their assets to me. If someone says something disagreeable about me, I have them hanged. The scheming wench, Jin, was it? Is probably at the bottom of the river by now. But, it would seem I failed to keep everything under control, seeing as you're still breeding and dragging a pack of mindless peasants around with you. That's only a minor inconvenience, though. All I have to do is take off your head, and then, without their leader, they'll regress back to the ignorant swine they are. Now, it's time we put this ludicrous revolution to rest. Barnier shifted backwards slightly, making to pull the sword from Jern's chest. She moaned, the sound of a mixture of agony and ecstasy. I thought I could hear her flesh ripping as the blade passed through it. I should have been readying myself to fight again, to brandish my sword and take this past her head. But I couldn't move an inch. Everything seemed to grow distant. My spirit was on the verge of collapse. The fire that had blazed within me had been snuffed out in an instant. Countless memories crumbled before my eyes. The word death flashed through my mind, but it brought with it no fear, only vast hopelessness. Don't you? But as the last of my will threatened to slip from my grasp, I heard a voice. Remember what I said? What? That I want to be together with you, forever. Oh, she's gonna stab him or something? What do you think you're doing? Let go of the sword, Jern. Lucidity came rushing back to me, and a split second later I understood what she meant, what she wanted. I didn't give myself a chance to consider where the road might lead. If I wanted to walk down it, I would come to regret that decision. Or if it was the right thing to do. There was no time to think, only act. I couldn't let this opportunity go. So I shut everything out. My mind, my looming conscience, my sense of right and wrong, my heart. I shoved aside every possible distraction, rekindled the near-extinguished fire of my rage, let out a visceral howl. Oh my god, and swung. Holy! I could feel the impact in my arms as the blade tore flesh and bone through flesh and bone. Jern's lifeless body dropped to the floor with a thud. Oh my god, and the tip of my blade ripped a gash in Barnier's throat. A geyser of blood erupted from his neck. Jesus, that was sick. Oh my god. He bent over, writhing in agony, and staggered back a few steps before his legs gave out and he dropped to his knees. His eyes were opened wider than I thought possible, and he brought both hands up to his throat to stem the flow of blood. But it did little to help, the crimson streaks seaming through the gap in his fingers. With each beat of his heart, the floor surged, sending up sprays of lifeblood. Impossible. Oh my god, I was right. Noble blood and peasant blood all looked the same. Grunting and groaning, Barnier pawed at the floor, evidently still convinced he could scamper off and escape somehow. He left behind a trail of blood as he crawled. Oh, it was, by all rights, over. However, there was still one last thing he needed to take care of. Yeah, he's gonna take his head and present it. I remember it from the first game. I marched over to the Lord and placed my foot on his back, slamming him down into the ground. I'm not leaving without your head, and I owe it to Jern to reunite you. Well, wait, if you kill me, the neighboring counts are sure to intervene before you even realize what's happening. Put down the sword and I'll spare you. Oh no, that's not gonna work. Damn it, it's so good. It's so good. I waited for this point. You will spare me? You're in no position to be sparing anyone. You're either a fool or a hopeless optimist. Dude, please call him any bad word you can think of. Please, Jacopo. You're not a lord anymore. You have no power. You're just a sick worm. Yes! Yes! Yes, Jacopo. Yes! Yes, king. Yes. Exactly what I wanted. And the counts, they won't be an issue. I'll be taking over for you after all. Is that so? And how are you planning to do that? You're a peasant. Jin entrusted me with a ring that bears the Barnier family crest. I'll use that to make myself out to be the successor of the royal family. And what will you do once you faked your nobility? You have no experience, not the faintest idea how to be a lord. I'm sure I'll govern better than you ever did. You're out of your mind. A peasant like you couldn't govern an empty plot of land. Not that being noble makes you any more qualified, as you're more than clearly demonstrated. I'll take your seat, and then I'll take the world. Oh, I love this. Ludicrous. Think very hard about this, boy. Killing me will be a mistake you can never fix. Put down the sword. Does death frighten you so much you would deign to beg for your life, Lord? Like I said before we began though, the only way this ends up is with one of us dead. I pressured my sword against Barnier's nape, then leaned into it hard. The blade sank into his flesh, the gash spreading like a crack in glass. Screams of agony echoed through the hole. All the blood in his body seemed to be trying to escape through the gaping hole, creating an ever-growing pool of red around us. Before long, you will be driven to madness. Excuse me? By the time you figured out what it means to be a lord, you won't be the kind-hearted friend of the people anymore. Living this life, having no one you can trust, it'll eat you away at you, and then you'll... Enough. You'll be your own executioner. Enough. I'll be waiting for you. Down in hell. Okay, that was a sick comeback. Oh my god. That is brutal. That is brutal. Holy. Thank god I don't need to censor it. Well, here, every guard and every rebel, I have here the Lord Head, taken by my own hand. You have no reason to fight any longer. Put down your arms, all of you, and cease this meaningless battle. Our revolution has come to pass. In less than a day's time, the Lord Manor had fallen. And by the time it was all over, it felt almost underwhelming how completely and utterly we had conquered them. Men cheered and shouted in celebration. Others borrowed suits of armor and pretended to be knights. A fire of different color filled the manor walls. They believed that, with the Lord's death, everything would suddenly be better for everyone, that nobody would have to suffer anymore, that they would all be happy and live perfectly fulfilling lives. They had no logical reason to believe as such, yet no one seemed to doubt it in the slightest. Everyone seemed to have forgotten that an encanting change required work, and there was still much of that to be done. The entire rest of the day, the men partied and celebrated, paying no heed to the corpses thrown about the property. Even the injured joined in. Nothing could stand in the way of their merry-making. They raised goblets to my great accomplishment, and I smiled along, though their fiery passion could not penetrate the cold bubble that had formed around me. The only real fervor I had felt all day was while I crossed swords with Barnier. Now, my head was surprisingly clear. Perhaps clear wasn't quite right. It was stagnant. I felt as though I was suspended in a dark sludge. Barnier's dying words hovered all around me. By the time I figured out what it meant to be a lord, I wouldn't be the kind-hearted friend of the people anymore, he had said. That I would have no one to trust. That it would eat away at me, drive me mad, and then I would be my own executioner. Again and again, I tried to tell myself that I wasn't like him, that I wouldn't end up like him. But his voice, his curse, refused to leave me. Images of his decapitated head flashed through my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that one day that would eventually be my head. Wow. Well, there you are, kid. Been wondering where you ran off to. Oh, Gretchen. How goes it? That sure ain't the face of a man who just pulled off a goddamn revolution. Your wound hurting? I've got something that can make the pain go away if you want some. Ah, there we go. Here she is. Take one of these leaves and grind it up at the back of your mouth. You should start tingling right at the back of your head in no time, and then all the pain's gone like it was never there. It's some pretty great shit. If you don't mind getting a little loopy for a bit anyway. But after all that, it ain't like you're gonna need to think straight for a while, so what do you say? Take a few? I think I'll pass. It does hurt, but I can handle it. Then why the long face? You're a hero now. People gonna be looking up to you. And that ain't a great look. What's with the big rock? I don't remember seeing this here before. Please don't touch it. It's Jern gravestone. Ah, so that's what you got. What got you down in the dumps, huh? I mean, I get it. I sure as hell didn't see that one coming either. Talk about a shocker. Sweet little thing like her in bed with the Lord. Women can be fucking scary creatures at times. I don't even want to think about what kind of shit she was scheming while she got all chummy with us. There was no mask, no facade, no scheming. She was always just being herself. You're out of your mind, kid? She played us for months, not the tiniest hint. If that ain't facade, I don't know what is. She never believed herself to be lying to us. Assuming Jern genuinely didn't grasp the concept of sadness or fear, that she was incapable of experiencing negative emotions, then it does kind of add up. She loved the Lord, while also enjoying her time with us. To her, they weren't mutually exclusive. To her, feeling both was not wrong. Well, it looks like you're a lot better at arithmetic than me, cause that don't come close to adding up in my head. Or maybe you just don't want to accept that it was all a big fat lie. Perhaps. I'm not Jern, and I don't know what she had with the Lord, so all I can do is speculate. And perhaps I do merely want to believe that she was part of the family. Gretchen, could I ask you to keep this for Maria and the other girl? Yeah, sure. Regardless of what Jern's actual feelings were, I don't see any reason to sully their memory of her. Fair enough, I guess. Not like the dead can make their own case, so at the least we can do for the ones they left behind is not taint her memory. Unless someone knows how to bring him back, that is. Indeed. You sure everything's good, kid? What are you so concerned about? I mean, this is yours now. When we leave, you'll be staying here. And I just want to make sure you're really up for it. If you want, I could take your place. Pardon? If you think being in charge will be too much to handle, I'll gladly take it off your shoulder. Hell, we both know I'm more of a fighter than you. I could take in Barnier without him getting as much as scratching on me. What'd you say? I'll do it. Don't be stupid. The whole city would be savages by year's end if you were in charge. Hey, just offering you a way out, kid. It's my burden to bear, and I have no intentions of passing it off. I'll have myself back in order by tomorrow. Well, if you say so, but don't forget, you're in this for the long haul. Don't worry, I can handle it. So, do you have any specific plan moving forward? The woman you were conspiring with, Jin, was it? They offed her, didn't they? She was hardly the one noble hoping to see Barnier overthrown, the only noble. I'll have to start by building up a solid foundation of supporters among the nobility. Or the novelty. Oh. Do we really need the Dick Squad on our side though? Why don't we just cut ourselves off from all the crap and start our own country? A place just for us, no royalty or novelty to rob us blind. Nobility to rob us blind, just our city. That would be ideal, but unfortunately, it isn't quite simple. We can't just overthrow the Lord, take over the city, and build a big wall around the borders without a clear, legitimate transfer of power. The neighboring counts will undoubtedly intervene. So we fight back. What's the problem? Our little band of peasants was only able to take down the Lord because we had the element of surprise. But what happens when a trained, organized army marches on our borders? You don't need me to answer that for you. This world's kind of massive bitch, huh? But it's a hell of a lot better than having old Barnier in power, I guess. You'll change things for the better, though, won't you? You have my word. Great. So, Jacopo, I know we'll be parting ways here soon and all, but I want you to know, I'll never forget this day. We crashed the gates of hell together and made the devil our bitch. It don't matter how far apart we are, nothing will change what we've been through. So let's make this city into the best goddamn city around. You from the top, me from the bottom. I love this. I love this sentence. Well said, Gretchen. Yes, let's. It's a great comfort to know I have you down there. I have a good deal of trust in you. I won't disappoint you, kid. And don't you ever hesitate to give me a shout if you need something. When we first met, I kinda wanted to throw you off a cliff, and you still rub me the wrong way sometimes. But I also consider you a hell of a partner, and I mean that. We risk our life for each other, brothers in arms. Thank you. I too consider you a comrade. You and the rest of the gang. I was beginning to think you'd never come out and say it. Now remember, kid, don't you let us down with this, or you'll be hearing from us, capiche? I know you can do it. I won't let you down. Ooh. It'll all go fine. I have allies, friends I can count on. With their help, I can change things for the better. I can believe in myself. I can do this. I have no reason to think otherwise. This fluttering is in my stomach is nothing to be concerned about. When that faded night came to an end, the vast bright blue sky of morning greeted me. I looked up at the sky, standing in a manner that still reeked of blood, and Morgana filled my thoughts. If she were here now, what would she say to me? Congratulations? It was so unlikely I let out a little laugh. She would undoubtedly criticize me for seizing power through such violent means. Her lips would twist into a scowl, and she would damn me to hell for the 1000th time. She would tell me what I had done was extremely foolish, but perhaps she would also express some concern about my injury. That was all in my own imagination, though. She would never be at my side again. She would never look up at the same sky again. I would never hear her sing again. My old life was gone, a relic of the past. It would never be the same again. Not without the girl I loved being a part of it. Oh. Oh, and that's part 1. Before the fall. Wow. Wait, all of this was part 1? So now we're probably off to Jacopo's ruling, right? It's probably the... Wait, what? Recollections of an outlaw? You're in the mood for something juicy, you say? Hate to break it to you, chum, but I ain't made of dough. I'd like a nice slab of meat as much as the next bloke, but I'm barely making do as is. We all are, in case you hadn't noticed. What? You're not hungry? You just want juicy story to go with your drink? Then why didn't you just say that to begin with? Give me a sec. I think I got one you'll like. A few months back, me and a bunch of other blokes went out on a raid, disputing a little village. They didn't do much trade, just living off what they could grow, so no one figured we'd make out with much. Grab a little grub, plow some of the girls. That was the best anyone was hoping for. Business as usual, we killed the guys, had some fun with the girls, and then killed them too. Jesus, man. Oh my god. It's horrible. Nothing too interesting, nothing real exciting up to that point. But that changed when I busted into this one house. There's a man, a woman, and a little girl maybe 5 years old. No siblings, just a girl. Real small family for a village like that. There comes the time to protect the girl, then Mott tries to block me way. No surprises there, I kill them both. Couple of unarmed farmers, easy as snapping a baby's neck. That left a kid. Wasn't like she could do nothing, so I didn't have to kill her. But you know how the stupid things get, crying like it's the end of the bloody world. So I figure, I'll run her through before she starts howling on me, right? But get this, the kid smiled at me and said, "Where are you from, mister?" Couldn't believe me ears. Girl, your parents were just killed by me, and I'm coming to kill you next. How the hell are you smiling? How the hell are those the first words out of your tiny little mouth? Carried me out, truth be told. So much so I lost interest in killing her. So I dug around for anything worth taking and then went on my way. But this damn kid. I tried to leave and guess what? She fucking follows me. Doesn't want revenge or nothing. Just smiling like a fool. I'm a patient bloke, but this was beyond the pale. I yelled at the stupid thing. Why the hell you're following me? Piss off. And she gives me this confused look and say, I'm bored. Everyone else stopped moving, so I have nothing else to do. But you're still moving, mister. Be damn, head was spinning. She was maybe 5? I couldn't understand her being a little bitch, a little stupid, but she should have known right from the wrong, enough to know that scared me on me. You'd have to be out of your mind to come trotting after the bastard who just offed your parents. And I'm pretty sure that's exactly what her problem was. She wasn't right in the head. Yeah, so he's talking about Jern, right? It must be. I tried to get her to piss off, but she wasn't hearing it. The other guys started talking. Maybe we should just neck her, right? Then one guy say with a big smile, what say we take bets on what it takes to make the kitty cry? So we did just that. We started placing bets. Give her a good yell and she'll cry. Knock her around some, that'll do it. I say yank out a tooth or two. Rip off her nails one by one. And finally, plow her till she breaks. Oh god. Went round and did everything we could think of, our absolute worst. Not like we ever pretend to be good people, but it ain't every day you see a bunch of grown men taking turns knocking the hell out of 5-year-old. And hell, that by itself, a good drinking story if I ever heard one. But it keeps going. She never cried, no matter what we did. Not a once. She would groan and twist her face when you hit her, so she did feel pain, but even that was only for a second. After that, she'd be back smiling like an idiot. Tell you the truth, she seriously creeped me the fuck out. I wanted to just end it there and forget all about her. But the rest of the guys, they took a liking to her, wanted to bring her back with us. I tried to talk him out of it, but one guy, he said, what's the big deal? And like we're adopting her. We'll have some fun and when we get bored, she's gone. And it's pretty damn hard to argue against that. Kept fighting it. I'd look like I was trying to be the good guy or something. And so now we've got this kid in the crew. First month or so she's with us, everyone treating her like their plaything. But after a little bit, that starts to change. They start kinda being nice to her, giving her extra food, letting her join in conversation, that sort of thing. She still creeped me out, sure, the way she never stopped smiling. But she wasn't ugly or nothing. Could be kinda cute even. Once she started talking with us more, I realized something. None of us knew this damn kid's name, so I asked her, and get this, she says, "I'm me." Dead fucking serious. Now, like I've been saying, the girl always never made much sense. But this was on another level, so I pressed her. "No, what's your name?" But she just tilts her head and says the same thing. "I'm me." "So you're saying your name is me?" I ask, and she gives me this big fat grin and nods her head. Who the hell names their kid me? Her parents seem to be like reasonable enough folks. They at least cared enough to try and protect her from me. They just ran out of ideas trying to come up with a name for her. What? As I'm thinking to myself, I see there's something sewn into the bottom of her shirt. Looked like writing, but I can't read for shite, so I call over the only educated guy in the crew and have him look at it. Turns out, it was a name. Jern. "Your name ain't to me, it's Jern," I say. And she lights up like a fucking village we just got through with. "Really? My name's Jern? I never knew." I let out the biggest sigh of my life and say to her, "You're the dumbest broad I ever known." About a month after we picked up the girl, we had a bit of trouble. There's this chubby bloke by the name of Marcus, and he starts getting the thing for her, yeah? I didn't want to get on a guy about what he gets his rock off, but a 5-year-old girl? That just ain't right. Marcos were kinda slow in the head, always at the back of the pack, and mostly useless when we went out on jobs. Only reason we kept him around was because he made a good pack mule. He was annoying as all hell besides, always saluting and saying "aye aye," like he thought we were a bunch of pirates or something. And he called everyone boss, because apparently that was the only form of respect he knew. Day after day, "Aye aye, boss," and "I'm on it, boss," and "let me massage your back, boss," was enough to drive a man mad. And cause he was the first one to talk to her, Jern started imitating him. Oh, right. So now we got two buffoons running around talking like that. Obnoxious as it was, though. End of the day, that's all it was. But that changed when Marcus started getting real fond of the girl. Every little thing we did, he'd go around telling us to be nicer to her, yeah? But far as we saw it, compared to when we first took her in, we were treating her pretty damn well. Of course, that's all relative. A proper slave probably still got less hell from their master than we gave the girl. But remember, we only brought her along so we can have fun. We never intended to make her part of the crew. But Marcus wasn't having any of it. Son of a bitch actually snapped at us. "You'll pay if you don't stop right now, boss." Idiot wanted a fight, so we gave him a fight. The whole two of us bit the ever-loving hell out of him, stomped his face in so bad you couldn't even recognize the poor bastard anymore. But that wasn't enough for him. His face was a big bloody mess, Marcus said. "I won't let you lay another finger on Jern, boss." Tell you the truth, I didn't think he had the sack. Then, germs come trolley again, seemed to heard the ruckus and wanted to see what was up. Marcus' eyes went wide and he yelled, "Stay back!" But the girl just stood there, same old stupid smile on her face. Seeing her come in, one of the other guys smirks, plops his arse down on Marcus' back, and holds a knife up against his neck and says, "Hey, Jern, you like Marcus?" And with a big grin she answered, "Aye, boss." Through the swollen, bruised up mess of his face you could just barely make out Marcus smiling. Next, the guy on his back says, "Then would it make sense if we roughed him up a little bit more?" "What do you mean, rough him up?" "Cut off his fingers, scoop out his eyes, you know, have a little fun." "Fun is fun. Why would that make me sad?" "You hear that? I ain't making this up. The girl's still standing there, smiling, and Marcus, he goes pale as a ghost. And he did. He cut off his fingers. Jern's still smiling. He gouged out his eyes, still smiling. And finally, he slit Marcus' throat. Even as the blood sprang right into her face, she never once stopped smiling. Just before he kicked off, Marcus looked like he was thrown into the deepest, darkest pit of despair. I've seen the hope drain from God knows how many men's eyes, but that was on a whole nother level. And as you can imagine, I wasn't the only one Jern creeped out anymore. Everyone felt the same way. She was so messed up, we all thought we might start turning into her if we kept her around any longer. So next city we land in, we'll sell Jern off. And we all lived happily ever after, minus one twisted little girl. What do you think? Juicy enough for you? You feel sick? Sorry about that, chum. I thought you had a stronger stomach. I do wonder what Jern was up to these days. She's still smiling like an idiot, or... Oh man, the fact that these bandits are still alive actually makes me pissed. Recollection of a vassal's wife? Good day to you, sir. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Yes, that's correct. This is where our slaves were when they were stolen, as I described when I reported it. What? The number of stolen slaves I gave you doesn't match with the number you heard from other sources? Ah. No, I had no intention of deceiving you. I simply assumed it wouldn't be a problem because I wasn't claiming we lost more than we did. Yes, I understand. I beg your pardon. I should have reported the number correctly. I will do so in the future, so please, if you would look the other way just this once. Why did I report fewer slaves were stolen? I imagine you would find that curious, yes. Why would anyone want less of the lost manpower returned to them, indeed? It's quite simple. I didn't think it would be any great loss if she were not to come back. Oh no, she was a fine worker, and she didn't cause any trouble either. You want to know about the girl? I doubt it will ever be any help to your investigation, but I don't mind telling you. I warn you, it's not a terribly pleasant story though. Very well, as you wish, sir. We purchased her when she was about 5 years old, so she's been with us for quite some time. 8, maybe 9 years now. When we bought her, she was still too young to put to work. She was in good health though, and always had the sweetest smile on her face, so I had little doubt she would do as she was told. Slaves tend to be so gloomy and depressing, you know? Not that I don't understand, but unlike many, we try not to mistreat our slave. As long as they do their work, they have nothing to worry about. The best slaves, I think, are the ones who aren't so dreary as to be infectious and make us feel guilty. The girl's name was Jern, and while she talked rather funny, she was always bright and cheerful, as I had hoped. And she was always smiling from ear to ear. For a while, it felt like we had a brand new member of our family. I was so taken with her, I almost considered adopting her instead of keeping her as a slave. And now, and how did I go from wanting to take her in to not caring if she didn't come back? It's rather difficult to explain, to tell you the truth. Yes, that's right. She never caused any trouble. She never stole anything, and she never refused to work. She never cried. She never got upset. No matter what happened, she always did her work with a smile on her face. That sounds like a ideal slave, yes? You will think so. And I have no complaints regarding her work. Neither did my husband nor our servants. I imagine I'm the only one who would be happy to never see her again. I started thinking the girl peculiar about 2 years after we purchased her. Right around that time, one of our other slaves attempted to run away. Yes, that's right. As I said, we have never once mistreated our slaves. Other slave owners could learn a thing or two from us, I say. We tell all of our slaves when we buy them that they will be set free as soon as they worked enough to pay back what we paid for them. So we had only 10 years, and then he would have been free. But he chose to spit in the face of our generosity and... My apologies, I've gotten off track, haven't I? The slave who ran was captured soon after, but trying to flee is one of the greatest transgressions a slave can commit against his master. As such, it was, as I'm sure you understand, necessary to punish him. But I assure you, we never mistreat. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'll continue. So as I said, he had to be punished. My husband took a length of rope and used it as a whip, I think it's called. He had all the slaves watch as he lashed the one that had tried to run. It was for their own sake. The other slaves needed to see what would happen if they attempted to flee. The lashing continued for a full day. All the slaves present reacted differently. Some averted their eyes, some cried, some looked on trembling, but it was clear they were afraid. which meant the punishment had served its purpose. For everyone except Jern, that is. Yes, that's correct. She simply smiled. At first, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, but every time I looked over at her, I saw the same thing. As the slaves were being lashed, screamed out in pain, Jern didn't even flinch. She just stood there, smiling. Just looking at her gave me the chills. My husband thought it curious as well, but he wasn't nearly as put off as me. She was 7 at the time and a hard worker, and he said there was no issue as long as she didn't cause any trouble. But that completely misses the point, you know? She gave me the creeps. I wasn't comfortable with her around. But of course, my husband has the final say. I couldn't defy him, so I did my best to forget that day. I couldn't get the girl out of my mind though, no matter how hard I tried. My gaze was run to Jern, and I noticed quite a bit as I observed her more carefully. Say one of the slaves hurt himself while working. You might expect another slave to ask if he's alright, to help patch up the wound, to volunteer to take on his responsibilities for the day, to show concern and compassion. But Jern, she would just smile and go on her way, not a word. She was hardly perfect either. Is anyone though? And she would make mistakes occasionally. Everyone slips up, and we try not to make a huge fuss about it, because we sincerely value our slaves and the work day. My apologies. In any case, we can't simply brush such mistakes off, and we can make sure to admonish them whenever something happens to ensure things run smoothly. But even as I scold her, Jern still smiling. As I'm sure you can imagine, it's hard not to feel as though you're being disrespected. So once I lost my temper and smacked her. It was only the force though, I swear. I'm not a violent woman. I hate raising my hand to anyone. I was sure that, if nothing else, I would make her cry. But still she smiled, with half her face red and swollen. I was so perplexed, I came straight out and asked her, "Why do you not cry? I just hate you. How can you keep smiling?" And she said, "Why would I cry? I'm not sad about anything." Pressing the issue further, I discovered she had evidently never felt bad for anyone in her life, including herself. Can you imagine? How terrible is that? It's not right. So I decided I needed to teach her how she was supposed to act. I taught her that, when she saw someone get hurt, she needed to show sympathy. That was when she was being reprimanded, she needed to show remorse and desire to improve. Jern listened carefully to every word I said, and before long, she started putting my teachings into practice. At first, I was relieved. Jern was finally a regular girl. She showed concern, compassion, regret. But it was all an act. She acted sad when someone got hurt, and then she turned around and was smiling again. It never lasted for more than a few moments. Emotions were about a flash, there, then gone, before you realize. It wasn't normal, wasn't human. She didn't genuinely feel sympathy. Beyond the surface, she was no different than the girl who smiled as a fellow slave was being whipped before her eyes. Jern had learned nothing. Unable to bear it anymore, I went to my husband again. I told him she wasn't normal. There was something wrong with her. I implored him to do something, but my pleas fell on deaf ears. She was a good worker, he said. We couldn't ask for a better slave, he said. Oh, but he couldn't have been any more wrong. He wasn't the one who had to look after her. He had no idea what she was like, how unsettling it was merely being in her presence, how deeply upsetting it was. My apologies. I'm fine now. As you can imagine, I'm not particularly fond of Jern, so it was weight off my shoulders when I heard she was one of the stolen slaves. Why are you giving me that look? You think I'm the one who has the problem? You think there's nothing wrong with her, just like my husband? One look at her smile and you know I'm telling the truth, that she's not simply a little eccentric, that there's more to it than that. I can't take it anymore. Is there no one who will understand me? Wow, that was true perspective. Recollections of a prostitute. So that's the final one. Kick back for a bit, why don't you? I'm in the mood to talk. Nah, I'm not gonna charge extra. I don't bill by the hour. Oh, you never thought of me as talkative girl? I guess that just goes to show how much I've taken to you. Oh, so it's Jern speaking? No, I'm not trying to butter you up, I swear. I've been thinking a lot these days about the place I last worked at, and it's been really getting me down. I can't think of anyone I want with me at times like these more than you. Did something happen there? I've been waiting for that question. It's a bit of a long story, I hope you don't mind. There's a city about 10 days by carriage from here. You know the one, right at Lord Barnier's doorstep. The place I used to work was there, and every so often, the Lord would summon a few of the prettiest girls to come to his manor. I'm hardly the best looking girl around, even out here, so I was never one of the chosen. But honestly, I'm lucky for it. It's not the kind of thing you want to go mentioning in public, but the Lord has some unsavory hobbies. Every girl who came back said, there's no amount of money you can pay me to do that again. Word is, the Lord has a taste for torturing and killing his slaves. Not just if you screw up either. If he's in the mood and he so much as sees you, you could be dead. He's got a dungeon under his manor too, they say, and you can hear wailing coming from down there at all times of the day. The Lord enjoys all different kinds of torture. Flaying, dismemberment, boiling, the water cure. I'm sure he uses others, but I've only heard bits and pieces secondhand. He only ever killed the slaves though. The girls all came back in one piece. On the outside at least. Being forced to watch people get brutally murdered did a number on most of them. Some were so broken by the experience they couldn't work anymore. So the Lord apparently, he holds banquets at his manor every so often. But there's the kicker. He only invites nobles that are into the same sort of thing. He's not the only one. We're being governed by God knows how many twisted freaks. I don't even want to think about it. Anyway, something like 2 years ago, I think it was, a couple girls came back looking a good 20 years older, and they told us about one of these banquets. Most of the time, it's just him and his noble friends torturing slaves, but this one was different. There was a girl, maybe 10 years old, chained up and naked on the makeshift altar, but there would get crazy. The girl, who they called a saint, was covered in scars, head to toe. They cut her up and filled her cups with her fresh blood. But she didn't cry. She didn't even flinch. She just sat there, quietly. And when she did speak, it was to condemn them as blasphemers and sinners. Can you imagine? Chained up like that? And she's scolding her captors, telling them God will punish them for their actions? I wouldn't have the guts. Maybe she was raised at the church or something. But I'm guessing that's got to do with why they called her a saint. Oh yeah, the slave revolt was right around that time too. You hear about that? Just rumors. Well, they're not just rumors. It really happened. Because of the revolt, the girls been there made it out mostly decent shape. Oh, and for a while afterwards, the Lord didn't send for anyone. I'm guessing he was too preoccupied patching up the holes in his manor and finances to spend much time fooling around. Sorta changing topics here for a sec, but about the same time, this dark-skinned girl, the kind you don't see too often around these parts, started working here. Name was Jern. Okay, so it's not Jern speaking, it's someone else? She was pretty, always had the widest smile on her face, and real friendly. Seemed like the kind of girl who'd run a lot of business. And I was right. Within a couple of weeks, she'd already picked up a few regulars, and her manager was going on about how happy he was with his purchase. About a month in, though, we started getting complaints from one of her customers. He said she was being condescending with him. I brought it up with Jern, but she said she had no idea what he was talking about, so I assumed the customer was just imagining it, or full of it. You get guys like that all the time in this business. No, don't worry, you're not one of them. You're. But the complaints kept coming in, which made me think maybe there was something going on. So I decided to talk things out with the guys to making complaint this time, get a better picture of what the problem was. Most of them were pretty useless and vague, but the common issue seemed to be her behavior didn't make sense. One guy came in after bungling a huge trade deal, hoping to find some comfort, and he spilled his guts to Jern. But instead of trying to console him, she laughed. You can see why he wouldn't be thrilled about that. When I asked Jern about it, she gave me a confused look and said, I thought he was telling a funny joke. There was no malice. Nothing. She genuinely didn't understand how the customer wanted her to act. Can't run a business like this without a solid customer base, so making sure everyone leaves happy is crucial to operation. which is probably not something I should be talking about with a customer. But well, you're special, so cut me some slack, okay? Anyway, something had to be done about Jern. We couldn't risk more dissatisfied customers, so I figured the best thing to do was give her some training. Here, how you should react if a client brings up such and such, and here's what you should say if they're looking depressed or upset or whatever. How and when to be reactive, and how and when to be proactive. Jern was quick study, so it wasn't long before she was putting my lessons to work. I would have been happy with just reducing the number of complaints to a more normal level, but Jern improved so dramatically we heard nothing but praise from then on. Say a patron was looking a little blue, she'd give them a big pouty face and say, "What's the matter? You can tell me anything." "Oh no, that's terrible. I feel awful for you. Is there anything I can do to help? Anything at all?" Just this constant stream of comfort, almost to the point of being excessive. She had gone from bright and energetic to sweet and sympathetic as well. On the surface, anyway. Every condolences she offered was completely fake. She was acting, and I knew, because I was the one who had taught her by now. There was nothing wrong with that, though. We're not in the business of genuine human interaction, after all. Thinking back on it now, though, I probably should have thought of what the real thing felt like, rather than just how to fake it. About a year later, the Lord started sending for girls again. We all knew he was a madman. That was common knowledge. But he paid well, and everyone always came back alive, so we reluctantly complied. But we were wrong. He did kill the girl this time. One came back alive, but she was missing an eye and half an arm. She was in no condition to go back to work. Even just going about her daily life would be difficult. We were aghast, but things only got worse from there. The next time the Lord sent for us, we panicked. For one, no amount of money was worth what waited at the Lord Manor. And two, it was impossible to run a business if your employees kept getting killed, so we attempted to turn him away. But his messenger simply said, "The Lord will not take no for an answer. We either complied or we were all executed for treason." What little hope we had left to crumble. We were screwed either way. So we fought amongst ourselves like a pack of wild animals. "I'm too ugly, you go. I have more regulars, you go. No one likes you anyway." Pure chaos. I was, of course, part of the brawl. And there where she comes in. Jern. Everyone's in a big mob clawing each other's faces off, and she would just tilt her head and ask, "Why are you so afraid of the Lord?" Seeing that stupid, clueless look on her face, just about everyone in the room burst a vessel. "Alright, we send her," we said, and it was decided. Jern smiled, not bothered in the slightest, gave us a cheery "see you later," and went off to the Lord Manor. To no one's surprise, she never came back. We figured she had been killed. A week or so later, the messenger showed up again asking for more girls. By this point, the manager was furious. He demanded to speak with the Lord in person, saying if something wasn't done, the whole brothel would collapse, and he'd put his life on the line to prevent that. Seeing him so resolute, I felt a newfound respect for him. I also thought he was a complete idiot, but I still respected him. After all, there was no way the Lord would be open to negotiations. That much was obvious from everything he'd done. The manager and a few assistants set off for the Lord Manor. And about 2 weeks after, he returned. Or his head did. His assistants managed to avoid death, so they were able to tell us what had happened. No one was exactly thrilled to hear more twisted tales about the Lord, but we listened anyway, and no one could have imagined what they told us. Jern was there, with the Lord, alive and well. Not only she had not been killed, he had apparently taken quite a liking to her. The manager was surprised to see her too, but he figured it was as good chance as he would ever get. If Jern would speak up in its favor, the Lord might actually listen to her. So emboldened, the manager pled with the Lord, begging him not to harm the girls, that we wouldn't be able to send anyone else otherwise. And for attempting to oppose him, the Lord ordered the manager to be executed. The manager, however, entreated Jern for help. "If you have a heart, Jern, please tell the Lord not to take my life. I have people who need me." Without hesitation, Jern nodded, saying, "You think you could maybe let him live?" That seems a bit, I don't know, disrespectful for a whore to speak to the Lord like that, but he didn't get upset with her or anything. He really had taken liking to her, apparently. The Lord nodded and said, I'll offer you a choice then. Jern, you may have whichever one of the following you prefer. Either I spare this man life, or you can have my full attention for the rest of the day. The manager and his assistants were all baffled. How was it even a decision? How was a man life, a man who had employed her for more than years, no less, comparable to a little attention? But they were even more baffled by Jern's reaction. She thought about it for a second, and then blushing, she said, I want your attention. Everyone's jaws dropped. The manager about burst into tears. He begged her to reconsider, to have pity. He asked what he had ever done to wrong her. You never did me wrong, she said. Then why won't you have him spare me? I just wanted attention more, and you're willing to let me die for that? What's so scary about dying anyway? Man, wow. Not only did she not comprehend sorrow, she seemed to be devoid of anything resembling fear as well, which explained why she had so much trouble sympathizing with people suffering, why she was always smiling no matter how bad things got. Without her manager, the brothel went to hell. His son took over, but he didn't give a damn about any of the girls. All he cared about was if he had enough booze to keep himself perpetually smashed. So, figuring I had better chance elsewhere, I left everything behind and ran, leaving my future in fate's hand. Fate was kind to me, and I managed to make it here. They come to me in my dreams sometimes, though. I still see the faces of the poor girls we sent off to the gallows. Oh my. Jern. What? Where am I again? Awake again, are you, whore? Ah. Who are you, sir? What? It would seem your memories have not fully recovered. Allow me to remind you how you got here, then? No, wait. It's right on the tip of my brain. Let's see. I was at the brothel, and then I was invited to the Lord place. I got brought to a big city. Then I was taken to the Lord Castle. The Lord called me into his room, and then you strangled me. Indeed. Your memory has returned without problem. I'm super duper good at remembering things. Wait. Why did you strangle me? To test my theory. Your theory? Of what? That you're mad. Mad? About what? Not that kind of mad. First of all, I never bring just one whore to my quarters. I brought you here because you piqued my personal curiosity. You mean you're having orgies in here every day? Wowzer, you've got some serious stamina. Not being alone with one person reduces the chance of an assassination attempt. That makes sense. It's pretty tough being the Lord, huh? So, what's so curious about little old me? The other day, you and a handful of other whores attended the torturing of a slave, if you recall. I made you all watch as he died. But you didn't seem affected in the slightest. Crap, I'm so sorry. For what? I wasn't sad enough, was I? The nice farm lady and the girl at the brothel taught me how to be sad and how to be angry. But if I'm not careful, I forget. I'm sorry for not being sad like I was supposed to be. As I said, you piqued my interest. Had you sobbed and screamed like any other whore, we wouldn't have been having this conversation. What? So me not being sad wasn't bad? That it wasn't. No one ever said that to me before. I always thought you unusual, but I couldn't be certain about what you were without getting more personal, which is why I brought you here to test that theory. You don't fear death, do you, whore? It's not just death. I never felt sad or scared about anything, ever. I didn't even know sad or scared were things people felt at all until someone told me. But now I know all about them, and how you're supposed to act when you feel them. I just don't know why they actually are. Truly fascinating. Tell me more. Huh? What do you want to know? Let's see. Tell me your whole life story. Tell me everything as far as back as you remember. Wow! No one's ever been this interested in me. This is super nice. Alrighty, I'll tell you everything. Don't hesitate to conk out if you get bored. And ta-da, here I am. What'd you think? As boring as I thought it'd be? Hardly. That was easily the most engrossing childhood story I've ever heard. Woohoo! Smiling as your parents were killed before your eyes. I'm hardly one to talk, but you're one thoroughly heartless girl. I still wish I could do that over. I really love my mom and dad, and the nice farm lady taught me you're supposed to be sad when people you love die. Huh, that's why you want a do-over? What? You're incapable of experiencing sorrow, no? Feigning it for the occasion won't change the fact that you don't actually feel sad about losing them. I guess you're right. I can pretend, but I still don't know what it feels like. I don't understand why people are so afraid of death to begin with. I mean, pain isn't fun, I get that much, but if you don't let it bother you, it's not that big of a deal. Plus, once you die, you get to go to heaven. So I don't get what there is to be so afraid of. Not everyone goes to heaven. Oh, that's right. But still, I'm sure there are plenty of fun things to do in hell. Fascinating. You truly are twisted to your very soul. Oh, but I do sometimes feel disappointed. Do tell. Like, I sometimes wish I could eat my mom's supper again. And I feel left out when everyone's talking about how weird I am. Maybe sad is just like an even stronger version of that. I get the impression your entire experience of negative emotion is fundamentally distorted. So I don't know if you can say that. Jern. Would you like to remain with me? What? Normally, I send horses back to where they came from when I'm done with them. But I'm offering you the chance to stay here with me. Are you? Asking for my hand in marriage? What do I do? I went from a whore to the Lord's wife in 3 seconds flat. Fool. I would never take a mere prostitute as a concubine. Drat. I'm, however, fond of you, so I'm offering you a place in my house. So you're saying you actually want me around? Even knowing what kind of person I really am? You could say that, yes. Wow, no one has ever actually wanted me before. Wow, God, they're both twisted. As promised, Jern, you have my full attention for the rest of the day. Tee-hee. Honestly, it shouldn't surprise me anymore how twisted you are. Twisted so far, in fact, you're the most sincere and honest person in the land, to a fault. You hardly even gave that man life a second thought. The look on his face as he died was magnificent. You're a cruel girl. I didn't do anything wrong, no matter what you say. I didn't steal anything. I didn't kill anyone. I tried to stay out of everyone's way as much as possible. So you actually have some concept of right and wrong, which means you understand that I'm a wicked man. I was taught the difference, yes. Fascinating. However, simply knowing the difference is of no use if you don't feel the repulsion it's supposed to elicit. Knowing full well that I was acting maliciously, still you selfishly chose my affection, sentencing that man to death. That's not what No, I guess you're right. I guess I did let him die for my own selfish desires. Looks like I got a lot to learn. No, you stay exactly the way you are. As I said before, you don't need to put up a facade around me. Don't act sad if you're not sad. Don't act angry if you're not angry. Don't feign pity for someone you don't care about. Be you. But everyone says your natural self neither disgusts nor disturbs me. In fact, I greatly prefer you that way. No matter how many slaves I kill and torture for my own entertainment, you never leave my side. You happily accept me no matter what I do. I would rather not lose that. Don't stand so far away. Sit down beside me. Aye. I have allowed you to stay here for months now, and in that time, you've been a constant source of entertainment. And you've expressed no desire to leave either, despite being well aware what kind of man I am. The same goes for you, Barnier. You want me to stay even though I'm such a weirdo. The difference between you and I, though, is that I kill and you do not. You know, I have been wondering. What? Why do you like killing so much? It would seem your perception of me is slightly inaccurate. It is not the act of killing I enjoy, but the look of dread and despair on a man's face when his life is ripped away. There's a difference? In your mind, perhaps not. I'd kinda like to know what it's like in your mind then. I told you my story. Maybe you could tell me more about you, Barnier? Oh god. Not that I blame you if you don't want to tell a prostitute like me. You're not a prostitute anymore. I'm not? Then, what am I? You're my property. Ooh, that sounds super nice. So, to answer your question, I was not always the man I am today. I had several brothers, though I was the eldest. As such, I was the first in line of succession. There should have been no question as to who was the rightful heir to the house. But my father, the previous lord, wanted my brother to succeed him instead. Without any reason to pass over me, though, he would have faced significant opposition and put the family reputation and legitimacy at risk. I was neither informed nor mentally challenged, but rather extremely talented, which gave my father no leverage to deny me the throne. The one thing I lacked was sympathy. Seeing people try to butter each other up made me physically sick. It seemed to me the last kind of behavior royalty should be engaging in. I believed that merely possessing leadership ability should be sufficient for ruling effectively. But in this world, only those who can win others' favor make it anywhere. Only those who can make themselves look good and their peers like fools. Those who can claim others' achievement as their own, who can appear to have more power than they actually do. My father and brother forsook me, making an attempt on my life. Because they could not legitimately remove me as the rightful heir, they could only kill me if they wanted their way. I was fortunate enough to survive the attempt, but I still carry the scar today. You mean the big one on your back? That's right. You're surprisingly observant. I was in danger of not just losing the lordship, but my life. I was left with 3 choices. To let them kill me, to flee and to live in poverty, or to kill them first. I was born to rule though, so in reality I only ever had one choice. I murdered my father and all my brothers, leaving me as the one in line of succession. But becoming the lord did not immediately win me everyone's favor. Distant relatives crawled out of the woodwork to claim my throne as rightfully theirs. The people demanded I satisfy their every whim and fancy. And even my attendants tried to push their own agendas. The whole affair quickly grew tiring. Dozens were clamoring for say in matters I could easily handle myself, so I silenced them. Before long, the prodding voices had become corpses. And it was somewhere around that time that I found myself intrigued by fear. Fear is a wonderful thing, an incredibly effective silencer that spreads like a plague. Sufficient application would preemptively stop everyone from interfering. Fear strips man of his will, all his will. When it became apparent to me that one did not have to be a great leader to rule effectively, all the time I'd spent in my younger days working to improve myself felt like an incredible waste. Fear became the centerpiece of my rule, and as I continued to employ it, I began to derive great pleasure from the despair it distilled in others. Men trembled at the sight of me. They bowed their heads and abandoned their dignity. They begged me to spare their lives. And what an exquisite sight it was, every single time. Enrapturing. You were born into your madness, Jern, but I was molded into mine. Kind of reminded me of Bane quote. But Lord Barnier, wouldn't that make me a bad match for you? I'm not scared of you at all. Man is a curious beast, you see. Once everyone feared me, I then came to seek those who did not. You sure are hard to please. You make it sound like I'm merely a picky child. Though, I suppose there's little difference in your eyes. There were a number of others among the nobles who had, like me, strayed from the path. Hardly a surprise, given that life as a noble is life. So, I started throwing banquets, inviting those who would be interested. These parties were to serve 2 purposes. The first, obviously, being for my own amusement. The second, to find those with similar tastes and bring them into my circle. I found little success with the latter, however, despite my rather zealous attempt at recruitment, so I no longer waste the effort. You weren't able to make any friends then? No, I was not. The other nobles had no interest in getting their own hands dirty. They only wanted to watch, getting their tiltation from a safe distance. Not a single one shared the same madness as me. Jern. I? You are far better than any of them. What? Things? What are you squirming about? I thought nothing bothered you. I'm capable of getting flustered, thank you. There is something deeply wrong with you. Oh, yeah, you're goddamn right. You're the one who decided to throw that curveball, Lord Barnier. Enough with the formalities already. You're not a whore anymore. You're allowed to use my name. That is your name, though. You don't know your own lord's full name, do you, Jern? Oh, wow, yeah, we don't know that. What? Answer the question, girl. I'm sorry. Allow me to help. I will only say that once, so don't forget it. My name is Jan Franfries Barnier, firstborn son and rightful heir of the Barnier family. Oh, I remember it. Oh, yeah, I remember it from the first game. Got it memorized. That's a really long name, though. I think I'll call you Franny. That rolls off the tongue nicer. Huh. I assume I can take that cryptic chuckle as an okay? Only if you wish to be hanged. Okay. Call me Franquise. Sorry if I'm butchering the pronunciation again. Every single name is just insistent of being so difficult for me to read. Jern. Get up, Jern. I swear, you spend every moment you're not otherwise occupied sleeping. I love sleeping. I said, get up, you feeble-minded Nimrod. Oh, you didn't have to heat me, yeesh. There are nicer ways to wake a girl up, you know. Be grateful I only heard you hard enough to wake you. I swear the church may have to redefine sloth if they ever made you. This bed's so comfy, though. You do realize the blood of dozen women had seeped into every fiber. Huh. Comfy still comfy, though. Huh. That wouldn't bother you, would it? So what's up, Franquise? Do you need me for something? Yes, I have a favor to ask of you. A favor? Of me? What is it? I'll do anything. Without even hearing what it is? It doesn't matter what it is. You say the word. Oh, I accidentally clicked. You say the word, and I'll do it, Franquise. And what if I ask you to take your own life right here? Just give me the knife. Jesus. Should honestly be more used to it by now. Why wouldn't I do anything for you, Franquise? I love you. No one's ever cared for me like you before. No one's ever wanted me as much as you. You're happy with me as I am, despite me missing all most important pieces. Again, I really shouldn't be so surprised. Fear not, though I won't be asking you to die today. How much harder is it gonna be then? I hope you don't want me to kill anyone. It would be my first time and I'm not sure I could pull it off properly. You're at the bottom of my list of prospective assassins. I doubt you could successfully smother a baby. Although, you could probably cause a great deal of death, I imagine. I'd like to make you into a mole. So you want me to dig holes? In a sense. There's been a word of unrest building in the city of late. Money and resources gathered below the table, murmuring of resistance being organized. So a bunch of baddies. Precisely. I want you to go down to the city and try to find as many baddies as you can, then report back to me. Can you do that? I can try. Excellent. A whorehouse would be the best place for you to start gathering information, I think. All you need to do is deliver reports. Anything more involved would be probably cause the empty head of yours to burst. I just realized if I go into the city, I won't be able to see you as often, Franquise. Does that displease you? A whole lot. Oh, I bet that this is what being said feels like. In your twisted mind, perhaps so. How about this? I will have a servant act as a regular client of yours. He will pretend to be a well-off merchant. At regular intervals, he will he will patronize the brothel, requesting your services and bringing you back to his residence. He'll pay well enough that he won't mind if you're gone for a few days, during which time you can come back to the manor and see me. How does that sound? I love it. Next, we need to discuss how you present yourself. Although you're free to be yourself in any presence, you will need to put an suitable act down in the city. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Now I'm getting butterflies. You spent years doing precisely that before you came here. But I didn't have you counting on me to do the good job of it back then, Franquise. Allow me to offer you a piece of advice then. Well, I'm all ears. Freely tell others about the misfortune of your upbringings. I don't think I had a bad childhood, though. You may not, but others will. Your parents murdered as you watched, taken captive by the men who did it. Tell people your story, but don't act so overly dejected. Why not? Won't people think there's something wrong if I'm not sad? People will think it's more unusual if you get too dramatic because it's so far out of line with your regular disposition. Good acting is subtle, not overdone. Damn, that's actually a goddamn good advice. Ooh, people will feel great pity for you when they hear your past, and then they will see your exuberance as a sign you fought and found the strength of will to move past your ill fortune. They will be impressed, taken with you. So you needn't exaggerate your performance, just give it a little bit of flavor. As long as you don't tell anyone those emotions are beyond your grasp, no one will have any reason to suspect otherwise. Neato. I'm feeling a lot better about this now. I expect you won't disappoint me. Aye, boss. So hey, Franquise, what is it? What will you do if, hypothetically speaking, when I go down into the city, I learned what sadness and fear feel like? I would kill you, because I would no longer have any interest in you. Awesome. I'm just glad you didn't say you'd kick me out. Every girl dreams of being killed by the man she loved. What? What? Oh my god. No, no, they do not. You want me to kill you? If it comes down to it, I guess. Though really, I'd rather be with you forever. Huh. In a way, you both got your wish in hell. Into the room, Germ. Now! You're gonna yank my arm off. I wouldn't have to if you would move. Listen very carefully. You stay in this room until everything has blown over. Do not open the door for anyone. But, is this what I think it is? You are only to leave this room if I tell you it's safe, or the manor goes completely silent. And if someone breaks down the door, tell him you're being held captive by the Lord. My predilections are well known among the people. No one will suspect you're lying. I must go now. Farewell, Jern. I rather enjoyed our time together. What? Wait, don't go. I've got an idea, Franquise. We could escape through that window there. Tie the sheets up into a rope and climb down. Then we can go somewhere far away where nobody will find us. I do not have that liberty. Why not? Because I'm the lord of this land. I was born to be the lord. I murdered my own family to keep claim to this title, and I will not abandon it until my final breath. I was a fool and a tyrant, neither a great leader nor a great man, but still I bear the responsibility of my role. Fleeing is not an option. I never thought you were a tyrant. The rest of my lordship would disagree with you. I used to fear as a weapon of control, murdering slaves for fun and prioritizing my own desire over the need and lives of my people. Do you have a better word from what I am? Where you grasp the difference between good and evil, but lack the requisite emotion to give those concepts meaning? I knowingly chose to stray from the path of righteousness. Didn't you say you could run things just fine with fear? That it was very effective? Indeed, you can run things exceedingly well with fear, though I never said you could do so forever. I first saw signs that the people were turning against me 3 years ago. While I did what I could to crush the seeds of revolt before they grew it would seem I'd miss a few. If you knew this was coming, couldn't you have stopped it? I've traveled so far down the wicked path that it would be nigh impossible for me to find my way back into the light. Which means all I could do is continue on and see what awaited me at the end. I could never play the benevolent ruler though. Those people are inscrutable to me. They all appear to be either ravenous beasts or feeble-minded swine. Were I able to have any love for my own people, perhaps things could have turned out differently. I can't stay in here and wait, Franquise. I want to be with you. I mean, you will do as I say, girl. What's gotten into you, Jern? Death is supposed to be meaningless to you. You do not experience sorrow over loss. But should I not come back? Go on smiling. Do not think I will simply let them walk in and kill me. I have dozens of skilled guards, and I can handle a sword myself as well. Far better than any mere peasant. They're getting closer. Now remember, you are not to leave this room, understood? You are my property, and my property does not defy the will of its master. And what if I do come out? Turn. You will not be of any help to me out there. And should you obstruct me in any way, I will not hesitate to kill you. You do not have a choice. Is that clear? Frankly. What? Time is running short. I love you. I will always place myself, the Lord Dreamfrank's Barnier, above anything else in the world. And you second. Damn. Oh my days. Wait. Second? That's kinda super crazy wow, isn't it? Whoa. I'm shaking a bit here. I never felt this way before. Is this what being scared feels like? Huh. This is a lot worse than I imagined. It feels real bad, like someone's sitting on my chest. I can hardly even breathe right. But it's kinda really wonderful. No, I can't do this. I can't be away from him. Oh, An Orphan's Tale, complete the interlude. And that will be all for today's video, and wow, we have managed to get through a lot. I kind of started the interlude expecting it to be rather short, and I guess in a way it was short relatively to what the game is usually like. And it was amazing. I totally did not expect to see a whole, part of the story focused solely on Jern, and it was amazing. It was really, really good to get that insight on why she did what she did. I honestly am not mad at her. I think it's just unfortunate she was born this way. But the Lord I despise. Even when his head is cut off, I hate him. I honestly wish we could somehow drag his misfortune even longer than that. I actually feel like he got off easy. It's that bad. I hate him so bad. But I guess that's what makes him a good character, right? If you manage to hate him so bad, he was a good villain. And right now we actually seen just Jacopo completely winning over the revolution and just turning things to his side. No, he's the current lord. And I'm pretty sure that on the next part, we're just about to start part 2, we about to see how he dealt with everything, because what the previous lord has said to him is actually right. We already know that from the first game. He is going to be lonely at the top, and he is going to cause misfortune to most of his friends at the slums. But he's also gonna bring the city an economic boom, which is insane, because the city has never been better. So there's kind of a double-edged sword. And of course we know what he's gonna do to Morgana in the future, which raises the question, will we see Mel and the Beast again? Yukimasa? I kind of wonder. I really hope we do, because I kind of missed them. I don't think we're gonna see Michelle and Giselle, because it was sort of the souls they interacted, but I might be wrong about that. If we see Michelle and Giselle, I'm crying. I'm telling you right now, I'll be the happiest man on earth. But yeah, don't spoil for me if we're gonna see them. I want to know that for myself. But hopefully we can see Yukimasa, and yeah, we can see all the other people. That's pretty much it for today's video though. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.